I found a dry cleaning receipt for a men's blazer in my wife's coat pocket, and when I called the shop, to correct the mix-up, they confirmed the blazer and shirt were scheduled for pickup under a man's name that wasn't hers. I didn't confront her that night. I started building a file, because the next time she said, "work meeting," I already knew what I was going to do. I live by calendars and consequences. That's not a personality quirk, it's how you survive as a corporate paralegal in Charlotte when you sit close enough to HR and contracts to watch careers get quietly dismantled. My wife, Brooke, used to laugh at my habits. The labeled folders. The Friday night administrative reset, where I clear my inbox, reconcile transactions, and set the next week's reminders while she watches reality TV. The screenshots. "Why do you screenshot everything?" she'd ask, half amused, half annoyed. For records, I'd say. It was always true, even when it wasn't about work. We'd been married 9 years. No kids. 2 decent incomes. Middle class, organized, comfortable. Not flashy. We vacationed with points and we used the same contractor for home repairs because known vendors reduce risk. Brooke worked in marketing for a regional company, good title, steady ladder. Her boss, Martin, was a married man with the kind of polished friendliness that makes you forget he's always measuring the room. I'd met him twice at company events. Both times he held eye contact a beat too long, like he wanted me to remember he could. The shift didn't announce itself with lipstick on a collar or some cinematic confession. It started the way most betrayals start, tiny deviations that didn't belong on the baseline. Brooke began showering the second she got home from work. Not after dinner. Not after her workout. Immediately. Shoes off, handbag dropped on the entry bench, straight upstairs. The water would run while I stood in the kitchen stirring something and listening to the sound of her routine rewriting itself. Her perfume changed. Not in a "new bottle on the dresser" way. In a "your scent has a different top note and I can't place it" way. I don't wear cologne. I'm not sensitive to fragrances. But I'm sensitive to inconsistencies. Then there was the lingerie. Brooke wasn't someone who hand-washed delicates. She was efficient, not precious. She'd throw everything into mesh bags and call it a day. Suddenly, she was washing her lingerie right away, like it couldn't sit in a hamper with regular clothes. Like it was evidence that needed to be processed. The first time I noticed, I didn't say anything. The second time, I asked casually, like I was asking about traffic. "New detergent?" I said, nodding at the bathroom sink where she was rinsing something delicate. She didn't look up. "It's just. I don't want them snagging." "Since when?" I kept my voice neutral. She shrugged. "Since now." That was her new habit too, since now. No narrative. No transition. Just a new policy in effect. Around the same time, work meetings started expanding. Brooke's calendar, which used to be a clean grid, client calls, deadlines, team check-ins, began developing these blocks labeled off-site or planning session. They were usually late, usually Thursdays, and increasingly they came with an overnight bag. The first overnight was explained away with a shrug and a practiced exhale. "Martin wants us there early for the pitch rehearsal," she said, rolling a small suitcase across our bedroom carpet. "We're meeting at 7. "Where?" "Downtown. The hotel near the office. It's easier than fighting traffic at 6. That made sense on paper. It even made sense out loud. But it didn't fit her. Brooke hated hotels. She complained about the air, the pillows, the noise. The idea that she'd voluntarily sleep somewhere else for convenience felt like watching her order a steak well done. Possible, but wrong. Still, suspicion isn't proof. Suspicion is noise. And I don't make life decisions on noise. I started watching quietly. Not stalking. Not spiraling. Monitoring, the way I'd monitor a vendor contract for scope creep. You note the change, you log it, you wait for the pattern. The pattern came fast. She'd come home late, too keyed up to eat, then shower immediately. She'd talk about Martin more than she talked about anyone else at work, and always with the same careful tone, half admiration, half irritation. Like she needed me to accept him as part of our marriage ecosystem. He's under so much pressure, she'd say, kicking off her heels. He doesn't sleep. I'd be standing there with peppermint tea, laptop open, reviewing a contract addendum, and I'd say, that's unfortunate. Brooke would look at me like I was failing a test. You don't get it. I did get it. I just didn't announce what I got. The receipt happened on a Monday, small, ordinary, forgettable, which is exactly why it was dangerous. Brooke had left early for a client breakfast. She wore a coat she rarely wore, a tailored camel coat with deep pockets. When she came home that night, she hung it on the hook by the laundry room and said she was exhausted. She kissed my cheek, went upstairs, and I heard the shower within 2 minutes. I was doing laundry because that's what I do. I sort. I fold. I put things away. I fix problems before they announce themselves. When I lifted her coat off the hook to check the pockets, because tissues ruin everything, I felt paper. Not soft tissue paper. Crisp. I slid my hand into the pocket and pulled out a dry cleaning receipt. It was folded into thirds, like someone had tried to make it disappear into the lining. The logo was from a cleaner I'd never seen before, one of those boutique places in South Park with minimalist branding and prices that scream, expense account. I unfolded it and felt the first real cold drop in my stomach. Order, 54,821. Items, 1 men's blazer, 1 men's dress shirt. Customer, blank or abbreviated. Pickup date, Wednesday. Total, $62.40. Men's blazer. Not mine. Not her brother's, she doesn't have a brother. Not a gift, she would have mentioned buying something. And even if she hadn't, why would she be using a dry cleaner she'd never used before? I stood there in the laundry room with the receipt in my hand like it was a witness statement. My brain immediately tried to do the humane thing, explain it away. Maybe she grabbed the wrong ticket. Maybe she helped a coworker. Maybe it was a promotional event and she'd taken someone's garments to be nice. Then the other part of my brain, the part that sat through workplace investigation meetings where everyone swears it's a misunderstanding until the email thread hits the screen, said, call. Verify. Document. I took a photo of the receipt on the counter. Then another photo closer, so the order number and date were readable. Then a screenshot of the photo in my camera roll with the timestamp visible. It sounds obsessive until you've watched people lose jobs over, I don't have that, versus, here it is. I didn't want a story. I wanted a fact. I waited until Brooke's shower was running and the bathroom fan was on. Then I stepped into the garage, closed the door behind me, and called the number on the receipt. It rang twice. Thank you for calling Lark and Linen, this is Amanda. How can I help you? Her voice was bright, professional, practiced. Like she'd said the same sentence 200 times today. Hi, I said. I found a receipt and I think there might be a mix-up. Sure. What's the order number? I looked at the paper in my hand. 54821. A pause. Keys clicking. Okay, yes, I see it. Great, I said, keeping my tone mild. The receipt is in my household and the items listed are, not ours. I just wanted to make sure it didn't get attached to the wrong order. What items does it show? Amanda asked, still polite, still neutral. A men's blazer and a men's shirt. Another pause. Yes, that matches. My throat tightened, but my voice stayed level. Can you tell me the name on the pickup? We don't usually give out customer names, she said automatically, like a script. I understand, I said. The reason I'm asking is because if it's not our order, I need to know whether the receipt ended up with the wrong person. I don't want someone's clothing getting lost because of a paper mistake. Silence, then a softer tone. One moment. More keys. The kind of pause that stretches out because you can feel the person deciding whether to be helpful or safe. Then, okay, so, the blazer and shirt are scheduled for pickup Wednesday after 4. Under what name? I asked gently. She hesitated. It's under Martin. My stomach did something slow and definitive, like a door closing. Martin, I repeated, like I hadn't heard. Last name? Another hesitation, smaller this time, because she'd already stepped onto the slope. Lasky. Martin Lasky. My wife's married boss. I didn't react. I didn't inhale sharply. I didn't ask a dozen questions like a man trying to turn pain into interrogation. I kept my voice steady, the way you do when you're pinning down a detail that will matter later. And the pickup person? I asked. The pickup is, not Martin, she said, sounding like she could sense where this was going. She stopped, then continued, it's listed as Brooke's name. My grip tightened on the receipt so hard it crinkled. That's strange, I said, calmly. Because Brooke is my wife. Amanda went silent. Not the casual kind. The careful kind. Sir, she said, and suddenly the polish slipped. I can only tell you what's in the system. I understand, I replied. Can you confirm the drop-off date? Friday, she said quietly. Friday at 8:12 a.m. Brooke had left the house Friday at 7:30 a.m. for an early team meeting. I didn't thank Amanda the way I normally would, because I didn't trust my tone to stay polite if I added anything unnecessary. Okay, I said. That's all I needed. I ended the call and stood in my garage staring at my phone screen, because it showed the call in my history with the duration. It showed the timestamp. It showed the number dialed. 3 pieces of proof, all clean. Receipt. Call log. Name. That's leverage. I went back inside, folded the receipt flat again, and slid it into a manila folder I used for old warranties and closing documents. Then I made a new folder in my cloud drive labeled, blandly, Household, 2026. Brooke came downstairs an hour later in leggings and a hoodie, hair damp, face scrubbed clean like she'd erased whatever version of herself had been out in the world that day. You're quiet, she said, opening the fridge. Long day, I replied. She glanced at my laptop. Still working? Just finishing something, I said. True enough. I was finishing the mental transition from husband to opposing counsel. Brooke closed the fridge and leaned against the counter, watching me the way she'd started watching me lately, like she was checking whether I'd noticed the shift in power. Martin wants me to stay late Thursday, she said, casual, almost bored. We might have to do the overnight again. Okay, I said. Her eyes narrowed slightly. That's it? I met her gaze. Calm. Controlled. Surgical. That's it, I confirmed. Because what she didn't know, what she couldn't know yet, was that I now had a date, a name, and a paper trail. And once I have those, I don't argue. I prepare. By Tuesday morning, the receipt was no longer a strange thing I found. It was an entry in a growing file. I didn't bring it up immediately because confrontation without structure is just theater, and theater is where liars do their best work. So I did what I always do when something matters, I built a timeline. I pulled our shared Google Calendar up while sipping peppermint tea at 11:47 p.m., the house quiet except for the dishwasher. Brooke's off-site blocks were there like little sealed envelopes. Thursdays. Late afternoons. Sometimes the label would change, planning, client prep, leadership sync, but the time windows stayed consistent. Overnight bag. Shower on return. Lingerie wash. Repeat. I checked our joint credit card statements next. Nothing dramatic. No hotel charges on the shared account. No obvious dinner tabs. Which told me what it would tell HR in a workplace investigation: someone was being careful, and careful almost always means not alone. I didn't need to hack anything. I didn't need to follow her. People reveal themselves through habits, and Brooke's habits had already shifted. Wednesday came, the day the dry cleaning pickup was scheduled after 4. Brooke left for work in the same camel coat. She was unusually nice, which used to mean good day, and now meant preemptive cushioning. Do you want me to grab groceries after? She asked, hand on the doorknob. I'm fine, I said. She smiled like she'd succeeded at something and left. At 4:26 p.m. I sent her a simple text: do you have time to talk tonight? Not we need to talk. Not emotional. Just a question that created a box around the evening. She responded at 4:28 p.m. About what? That right there was the first tell. People who have nothing to hide don't immediately ask what the topic is, they ask what time. How's stuff? I typed back. After dinner. She didn't reply. She came home at 7:11 p.m., carrying 2 grocery bags and a posture that was a little too straight. She kissed my cheek, quick, like she was checking a box. Hey, she said brightly. I got the chicken you like. The lemon one. I saw, I said, watching her set the bags on the counter. She glanced around the kitchen. You've been quiet. Long week, I said. She laughed once, too sharp. It's Tuesday. I didn't take the bait. I plated dinner. We ate with the TV off. Brooke tried to fill the silence with safe topics: her coworkers' annoying email habits, a client who was so dramatic, a new campaign that was a mess. She kept circling Martin's name without saying it, like a tongue testing a sore tooth. When we were done, I put our plates in the sink and poured hot water over the pan. I did not clean it. I left it as is, another subtle box: we are not doing normal tonight. Brooke followed me into the living room, arms crossed loosely, like she was protecting herself without wanting to look defensive. So, she said, sitting on the edge of the couch. What's house stuff? I sat in the armchair across from her, knees apart, hands resting calmly on my thighs. Not aggressive. Not relaxed. Deliberate. I found something in your coat pocket, I said. Her face changed in a half-second, the micro-flash of calculation before she put her expression back on. What? She asked. Like, what? I let the question hang for a moment longer than comfortable. Silence is a tool. People rush to fill it. A dry cleaning receipt, I said. She blinked. Okay. For a men's blazer and a men's dress shirt, I continued, voice even. From a place you've never used before. Her shoulders lifted. Oh my God. That's what this is. What is this? I asked. She exhaled dramatically, leaning back like she was exhausted by my paranoia. It's nothing. It must have gotten mixed up. I nodded once, slow. That was my first thought too. So I called them. Her eyes snapped to mine. You called them? Yes, I said. Because if it was a mix-up, I wanted to correct it. Brooke's mouth opened, then closed. She swallowed. You had no right, she started. I asked about the order number, I said, cutting in gently. They confirmed the items and the pickup date. They confirmed the drop-off time. And they confirmed the pickup name. Brooke went still. Not angry still. Not offended still. The stillness of someone realizing the floor is not where they thought it was. What name? She said, but her voice was thinner now. Martin Lasky, I replied. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she laughed, too loud, too hollow. "That's insane," she said. Wow. You really went there." "I didn't go anywhere," I said. "I asked." They answered. Brooke stood up abruptly, pacing 2 steps, then back. "So what, you think I'm, what? Sleeping with Martin because a dry cleaner has a ticket with his name on it?" "I think," I said, "that you've had multiple work overnights linked to him. I think your routines have changed. I think you've been coming home and showering immediately. I think you've been washing lingerie the same night. And I think you picked up a man's blazer and shirt under your boss's name on Wednesday after 4. Her nostrils flared. "You're tracking my showers now. Are you hearing yourself?" "I'm observing," I said. "There's a difference." Brooke's eyes shone with anger that had a sheen of fear underneath. "This is controlling. This is you trying to make me feel guilty for having a job." "I'm not interested in making you feel anything," I said. "I'm interested in the truth." She crossed her arms tighter. "The truth is I do things for my team. We're slammed. Martin's a mess, okay? He delegates too much, and yes, sometimes I end up doing personal errands because he's in meetings all day. That's what happens when you're the one who keeps things moving." I watched her carefully. "That was a smarter lie than, 'I don't know what you're talking about.'" It admitted enough to sound plausible. "Personal errands," I repeated. "So you drop off his dry cleaning." "It's not like that," she snapped. "He had a client dinner. He spilled something. He needed it cleaned. I was already going to South Park. It's called being helpful." "Then why was the receipt in your coat pocket folded into thirds?" I asked. "Why didn't you mention it?" Her mouth tightened. "Because I knew you'd do this." I let that sit. Then I said, "What did you think I'd do?" She pointed at me, eyes bright now. "Exactly this. You get weird when you don't understand something. You build your little case files in your head and then you act like you're a judge." I didn't deny it. "Okay. Then help me understand." Brooke's breathing was faster. She looked toward the kitchen, like she wanted to retreat to a task, wipe a counter, rearrange something, anything that would break the intensity. "Martin doesn't have anyone he can trust," she said finally. "His wife doesn't get it. She's checked out. He's under so much pressure and," I held up my hand, palm out. "That's not an answer to what I asked." Her eyes narrowed. "You're such an ass when you do that." "When I do what?" I asked. "When you talk like you're in a deposition," she said, voice rising. "Like I'm a hostile witness." I didn't flinch. "Are you?" Brooke stared at me, and for a second I saw the real thing behind her anger, the calculation, the awareness that she was standing in front of someone who didn't get distracted by tears or volume. She changed tactics. Her face softened. Her voice dropped. "Charlotte. I'm exhausted. I'm trying to keep my job. I'm trying to get promoted. And yes, Martin leans on me because I'm capable. That's it. That's all. Do you understand how it looks?" I asked. "It looks like you don't trust me," she replied immediately. I nodded. "Correct. Right now, I don't." Her eyes flashed. "Because of a coat pocket receipt." "Because of patterns," I said. "And because the receipt lines up with the nights you've been gone." Brooke shook her head, slow, like she couldn't believe how unfair I was being. "You don't know what it's like in that office." "I know exactly what it's like in offices," I said. "I've sat in HR meetings where married managers claimed the same thing you're claiming. Pressure. Support. She understands me. And it always starts with errands and late nights." Her face went pale for a split second. "So you're saying I'm, what? A cliché?" I'm saying, I replied, you're married. And your married boss's clothing is being handled by you like it's normal. It's not normal. Brooke's hands curled into fists. Fine. You want normal? Here's normal. Martin's a friend. He talks to me. He respects me. He actually sees what I do. And when we have big launches, yes, we work late. Sometimes we crash at the hotel because the mornings start early. Crash, I repeated. She glared. Don't do that. Do what? Pick words apart like they're contracts, she said. This is my life. Then speak clearly, I said. Because the words matter. Brooke's voice cracked with frustration. Nothing happened, okay? Nothing. I watched her carefully. Nothing. Nothing, she said again, louder. I didn't sleep with him. I'm not having an affair. This is you being paranoid because you can't handle that I have a world outside of you. That last line was aimed like a knife. It wasn't an answer, it was an attack designed to make me defend myself instead of continuing. I didn't take it. I stood up, walked to the side table, and picked up my phone. Brooke's eyes widened. What are you doing? I'm going to show you something, I said. Her posture stiffened. If you've been going through my phone, I haven't, I said. I don't need to. I opened my call history and turned the screen toward her. The number. The time. The duration. Brooke stared at it, then at me, then back. She looked like someone had pulled a thread and she could feel the seam starting to open. You called them, she whispered, like she was seeing me for the first time. Yes, I said. And they told me the drop-off time was Friday at 8:12 a.m. Brooke's mouth opened slightly. She closed it. Her eyes darted left as her brain tried to create a new story. You told me Friday was an early team meeting, I continued. You left at 7:30. Brooke's face flushed. It was. It was early. And you told me last Thursday you stayed overnight for a pitch rehearsal, I said, taking a slow breath. Brooke. I'm giving you a chance to tell the truth before I make decisions that don't include your input. That landed. I saw it. The shift from fight to assess damage. Her voice went smaller, almost resentful. You're threatening me. I'm informing you, I corrected. There's a difference. Brooke sank back onto the couch like her legs stopped cooperating. She pressed her fingers to her forehead. I can't believe you're doing this, she muttered. I can't believe you put your boss's dry cleaning in your coat pocket and thought you could tell me nothing with a straight face, I replied. She looked up sharply. So what do you want? You want me to quit? You want me to call him and say, what? My husband found a receipt so we can't work late anymore. I want the truth, I said. Not a performance. Brooke stared at me for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice had that flat quality of someone choosing a lesser confession because the larger one is too costly. Okay, she said quietly. He flirted. I didn't stop it like I should've. We've crossed lines. Define crossed lines, I said, and hated myself for how automatic it sounded. Brooke gave a bitter laugh. There it is. Deposition. Answer the question, I said. She swallowed. Emotional lines. We talk too much. He texts me too much. He tells me things he shouldn't. And the overnights? I asked. Her eyes flicked away. We worked. Brooke, I said softly, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to document what you say. So choose your words carefully. That sentence made her flinch. She stood up again and paced to the window, arms wrapped around herself. When she spoke, it was almost a hiss, like she was angry at me for forcing reality to exist. You wouldn't understand, she said. He's powerful. He can make things happen. He actually helped me. With what? I asked. With my promotion track, she said, then snapped around. Not like that. Don't look at me like that. He pushed for me. He listened. He made me feel like what I do matters. And I don't. I asked, quietly. Brooke's eyes filled, but the tears didn't fall. You make everything transactional, she said. Like love is a ledger. I didn't respond to that, because it was designed to drag me into an emotional argument where she could win by making me the villain. Instead, I said, are you sleeping with him? Silence. Not the silence of indignation. The silence of delay. That was the moment the air changed. That was the moment I stopped being a husband trying to understand and became a man preparing to protect his life. Brooke's voice, when it finally came, was small and furious. What if I am? My heart did not break in a dramatic way. It tightened. It reorganized itself around a new objective. What if you are, I repeated calmly, is not an answer. Brooke's chin lifted, eyes wet now. It happened, she said, the words coming out like she hated them. Not a lot. It was stupid. I nodded once. How long? She shook her head. I don't know. A few months. Which months? I asked. Brooke laughed through something like a sob. You're unbelievable. Which months, Brooke? I said again. Her voice turned raw. Since the fall. Since September. Okay. Since September. I felt the calendar click in my head. Thursdays. Overnights. Patterns. A quarter's worth of work meetings. Is he married? I asked, even though I already knew. Brooke's face twisted. Yes. Does his wife know? I asked. No, she snapped. Of course not. I nodded. Does anyone at work know? Brooke hesitated. I don't think so. I leaned forward slightly. Brooke, you don't get to think right now. You either know, or you don't. Her eyes went hard again. I don't know. I sat back, breathing evenly. Okay. Brooke stared at me like she expected yelling, a thrown glass, some proof that I was as wrecked as she felt. Instead, I said, here's what's going to happen. She blinked. What? I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight, I said. Tomorrow I'm speaking with an attorney. I'm protecting myself financially. And you're going to tell me the truth, fully, once you're ready to stop negotiating. Brooke's eyes widened in panic. You're going to ruin my life. I looked at her, calm and clear. No, I said. You already did that. I'm just going to stop you from ruining mine. And then I walked out of the living room and into the guest room with my phone in my hand, already drafting a list titled, Dates/Receipts/Locations, because emotions don't win, but documentation does. By 6:04 a.m. I was awake in the guest room with my laptop open and peppermint tea steaming beside the trackpad. I didn't feel heroic. I felt operational, like my brain had switched from marriage to matter file. First step, establish baseline. I logged into our joint checking account and exported the last 6 months of transactions. Not for drama, for context. You can't prove unusual without usual. Second step, preserve what exists before someone gets scared and starts deleting. I wasn't going through her phone. That's how people end up in court explaining why they were the problem. But Brooke and I had a shared ecosystem like most couples, shared calendar, shared accounts, shared devices. An iPad in the kitchen we used for recipes, still signed in. Location sharing that had been on for years because it was convenient. I opened what was already ours and looked for the same thing I'd look for in any investigation, repetition. The cluster was there, clean as a bruise you stop pretending you don't see, an uptown hotel, late-night arrivals, early morning departures, consistently on Thursdays. I didn't stare at it and spiral. I took screenshots, labeled them, and dropped them into a PDF with dates. Facts don't need adjectives. At 7:30 a.m., Brooke came into the kitchen in a robe, hair messy, face raw from sleep. She paused when she saw me dressed, buttoned down, dark jeans, belt. Not office attire, but leaving the house with purpose attire. "You didn't come to bed," she said. "I told you I wouldn't," I replied. She wrapped the robe tighter. "So what, this is it? You're just done." "I'm gathering information," I said, pouring coffee I didn't want. She stared at me like I'd insulted her. "Already?" "Yes." She stepped closer, voice low. "You're really going to do this over one mistake?" I looked at her. "Is it one?" Her throat worked. "I told you, since September." "That's not one," I said. Her eyes flashed. "What about my job? What about it?" I asked. She hesitated, pride fighting panic. "If this gets out, if Martin, if," I cut her off with a small lift of my hand. "I'm not discussing Martin with you right now." "Why?" she snapped. "Because you'll try to negotiate on his behalf," I said. "And I'm not in business with him." Brooke stared at me, then softened like she was switching masks. "Can we just talk?" she asked. "Can you not do something you can't undo?" "You didn't ask me that before you did what you did," I said. Her face tightened. "That's not fair." "No," I agreed. "It's not." I left the house at 8:12 a.m. and drove to a family law office tucked into a building designed to be forgettable. Brick. Neutral signage. No drama. The attorney was a woman in her 40s with a brisk handshake and eyes that suggested she'd heard every version of, "But it's complicated," and never once been impressed. Her name was Dana. I told her I was a corporate paralegal and watched her expression shift, not warmer, not friendlier, just alert. People assume paralegal means you'll try to run the case yourself. I won't. But I understand how systems work, and attorneys know that can be either helpful or exhausting. Dana slid a yellow legal pad toward herself. "Start from the beginning," she said. "And be precise." So I was. I didn't give her feelings. I gave her dates. Thursdays. Overnights. The shift in routines. The dry cleaning receipt. The call log. The confirmation of Martin's name and Brooke listed for pickup. Brooke's admission, physical affairs in September. Dana wrote, asked clarifying questions, wrote more. Then she sat back. "North Carolina isn't a catch them and you win state the way people imagine," she said. "I know," I replied. "But," she continued, "fault can matter for support. Adultery can impact alimony. And even when the math doesn't change dramatically, leverage changes negotiations." I nodded. "I want clean terms," I said. "I want the house. I want retirement protected. I want a separation agreement that doesn't turn into a 2-year knife fight." Dana tapped her pen. "Children? No. That simplifies the structure," she said. "Not the emotions." She leaned forward. "Practical question, are you prepared to separate physically? In North Carolina, divorce requires living separate and apart." "I know," I said. "Separate residences." "Good," she replied. "Then we strategize. You negotiate a separation agreement now. Property division. Support terms. Who stays in the house. But you time your actions. You do not blow up the workplace angle before the agreement is signed." That sentence didn't feel like advice. It felt like confirmation of what I already knew. Dana's tone stayed clinical. "Leverage is fine. Illegal access is not. Hacking is not. Harassment is not. I'm not doing any of that, I said. Only shared accounts and household records. Then tell me what you can access, she said. I listed it like inventory, shared calendar, joint statements, location sharing, toll transponder, phone bill metadata, car insurance portal. Dana nodded slowly. That's plenty. She wrote a checklist in sharp, clean handwriting and slid it toward me: establish separate residence plan, inventory assets, protect credit, draft separation framework, preserve evidence, consider workplace report after agreement is executed. I left with the checklist and a feeling I didn't like, but trusted: traction. Back at home, Brooke was waiting by the kitchen island like she'd been stationed there. What did the lawyer say? She demanded. I set my keys down carefully. That I should protect myself. Brooke's eyes were red-rimmed. She'd been crying, but her posture was still combative. So you're leaving me? I'm separating, I said. That's the first step. Where are you going? I haven't decided, I said. But it won't be under this roof together. Her voice rose. So I'm getting kicked out? I didn't say that, I replied. She stared at me. You're so cold. I'm controlled, I corrected. There's a difference. Brooke laughed bitterly. You're going to punish me. I'm going to protect myself, I said. If you experience that as punishment, that's your interpretation. She stepped closer, voice dropping, trying for intimacy like it was a tool. What do you want? Money? The house? I held her gaze. I want a signed agreement. Her face tightened. So this is business now. It became business when you involved your boss, I said. And when you made decisions that expose both of us financially. Brooke blinked. Expose you? How? Employment risk, I said. If your company has policies. If someone reports. If he protects himself by blaming you. Brooke flinched. He wouldn't. I didn't smirk. I didn't gloat. I just said, power protects itself. That afternoon, I worked Dana's checklist. I photographed the house, every room, every major item, like a pre-loss inventory. Not because I thought Brooke would steal the couch, but because chaos makes people petty. I downloaded statements. I pulled credit reports. I moved my direct deposit to a new account in my name, leaving enough in the joint account to cover shared bills. Defensive, not vindictive. Then I built the timeline like I'd build an internal investigation file: calendar screenshots of Thursdays, location clusters, toll entries that aligned with uptown garages, the receipt, the call log, Brooke's text, about what? Because innocent people ask what time, and liars ask what the topic is. Everything got labeled, exported, and backed up twice: encrypted drive and a printed binder. Paper doesn't get accidentally deleted. Brooke watched me from the doorway at one point, arms folded. Are you seriously making a binder? She said, voice thick with disgust and fear. Yes, I replied. You're going to destroy me. I paused and finally met her eyes. Brooke. Listen carefully. Her chin lifted. I am not going to argue about morals, I said. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to chase you. I'm going to do the next correct thing until this is resolved. Her mouth trembled. Resolved how? Legally, I said. With as little chaos as possible. She swallowed. And Martin? I let a beat of silence pass, just enough to make the question heavy. Martin is not my spouse, I said. But he's part of the facts. Brooke's eyes filled. Please. It was the first pure plea I'd heard from her in months: no irritation, no manipulation. Fear. And it confirmed what Dana had warned me about: once the powerful man senses risk, he pushes it downhill. Brooke would be the one blamed. Brooke would be the one labeled unstable. Brooke would be the one HR could sacrifice without touching a man with a title. I didn't say that out loud. I went back to my laptop and kept building the file, because the next phase wasn't emotional. It was procedural. On Thursday morning, her usual overnight day, I woke up before my alarm and lay there staring at the ceiling fan. It clicked once per rotation, a tiny defect I'd meant to fix for months. Downstairs, Brooke moved around too early, too loud. Cabinet doors shut harder than necessary. The faucet ran. When I came into the kitchen, she was already dressed for work, blazer, hair done, makeup on like armor. "I'm not going tonight," she said. I poured peppermint tea, hands steady. "You don't have to announce your schedule to me." She snapped her eyes up. "So you don't care?" "That's not what I said," I replied. "I said you don't have to announce it." Brooke gripped the counter. "You're doing that thing where you act like you're above it." "I'm not above it," I said. "I'm in it. I'm just not going to perform it." Her mouth twisted. "Do you even feel anything?" That question was bait and also real. She wanted me loud, because loud would mean I still belonged to her emotionally. "I feel plenty," I said. "I'm just not handing you the steering wheel." Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced down, and I watched her face change, tightening, smoothing, tightening again. She flipped the phone face down too fast. I didn't ask who it was. The motion itself was an answer. "Go to work," I said quietly. "We're not doing this before 9 a.m. Brooke's jaw clenched. "You don't get to control, I'm controlling my access to your chaos," I corrected. "That's what I get to do." She grabbed her bag and left without a goodbye. By noon, I drove past uptown without meaning to. Errands, I told myself. The truth was simpler, I wanted to see the hotel from the outside, like a building could confirm what my brain still resisted. The garage entrance was there, indifferent. Cars slid in and out. People walked by with coffees and lanyards. I kept driving, because I don't give myself scenes that could be used against me later. At 2:17 p.m. my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Unknown number. I answered on the third ring. "Hello." A man's voice, smooth, controlled, practiced. "Is this," he said my name. "Yes," I replied. "Who is this?" "This is Martin Lasky," he said, like it should mean something. "Okay," I said. There was a pause, like he expected a reaction. "I understand you and Brooke had a difficult conversation," he continued. I stared straight ahead at the road. "How did you get my number?" A micro pause. "Brooke is on my team. We have emergency contact information for." "That's not what emergency contact information is for," I said, still calm. His tone cooled. "Listen. I don't want there to be misunderstandings that affect her work." "Then you should have considered that before you started sleeping with her," I said. He exhaled slowly, annoyed at the inconvenience of my accuracy. "I think it would be wise for you to keep personal matters personal." "That's funny," I replied, "because you made it a workplace matter when you had an affair with your subordinate." His voice sharpened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I have a dry cleaning receipt for your blazer and shirt," I said. "I have a call log confirming your name and the drop-off time. I have location data that aligns with Brooke's overnights. And I have Brooke's admission." Silence. Not shock. Recalculation. When he spoke again, the politeness stayed, but the steel showed. "I'm going to give you advice," Martin said. "Don't try to burn everything down. People get hurt. Careers get ruined. And for what? A marriage that's already strained." There it was. The power move. The insinuation that my marriage was defective anyway, so his behavior was merely opportunistic, not predatory. I kept my voice flat. Here's my advice. Do not contact me again. He gave a small laugh. You can't stop me from calling. I can document it, I replied. And if this escalates, your repeated contact will look like intimidation. A pause. You don't want to do this, he said, softer. Think about Brooke. I am thinking about Brooke, I said. Which is why I'm thinking about how quickly men like you push blame downhill when consequences show up. His tone snapped. That's insulting. It's accurate, I replied. Then I ended the call. I pulled into a lot, opened my notes app, and typed, 2:17 p.m. Call from Martin Lasky, number, content, advised keeping matters personal, implied consequences, used, emergency contact. Then I screenshot the call log. 4 records. When Brooke came home that evening, she looked like she'd been crying in a bathroom stall. Makeup smudged in a way she would have fixed before, except smudged makeup is sometimes a signal. She dropped her bag by the door and didn't move farther into the house. He called you, she said. Yes, I replied. Her face crumpled. What did you say to him? The truth, I said. She swallowed. He's furious. I tilted my head slightly. At you? Her eyes flicked away. That answer was enough. Brooke's voice went thin and panicked. He said if this becomes a thing at work, he'll have to protect himself. I held my gaze on her, steady. And what does protect himself mean? Brooke's mouth trembled. That I pursued him. That I got emotional. That I couldn't handle boundaries. That I'm unstable. She said it fast, like if she unloaded it quickly it would hurt less. I nodded once. Power protects itself, I said again, and this time she couldn't argue. Brooke covered her face with both hands. I'm so stupid, she whispered. It wasn't an apology. It was recognition. And it didn't fix anything. It just made the shape of the truth impossible to avoid. It just made the shape of the truth impossible to avoid. I didn't reach across the counter. I didn't touch her. Comfort blurs lines, and I needed the line sharp. Tell me what happened today, I said. Brooke wiped her face with her sleeve. HR pulled me into a room. My stomach tightened. Who was there? An HR manager and Martin, she said. He said there were rumors and he needed to get ahead of it. I stared at her. What did you say? Her eyes closed for a second. I said no, she whispered. I lied. Why, I asked, did you lie? Her voice cracked. Because he looked at me like if I said yes, he'd destroy me. I nodded slowly, letting the logic finish itself. And what did he say? Brooke swallowed. He said I was misinterpreting mentorship. That I was overly attached. That he had to set professional boundaries. My jaw clenched, but my voice stayed even. He's building his file. Brooke's shoulders shook. He told me afterward I need to get my emotions under control or he can't keep me on the team. I watched her, and in the middle of my anger there was a clean, cold understanding. This was always the end game. The affair was private until consequences arrived, and then it became a story where the subordinate was unstable and the supervisor was ethical. He's going to make you the problem, I said. Brooke nodded, tears slipping again. He said his wife can't find out. He said if she finds out, he'll lose everything. I looked at her. And what do you lose, Brooke? Her mouth opened, then she breathed out one word like it hurt. Everything. I didn't gloat. I didn't soften. I just said, this is why I don't scream. Brooke stared at me. What? Because the moment power gets scared, I said, it rewrites history. And it chooses the version that saves itself. Brooke's hands trembled. So what do I do? You stop trying to manage Martin, I said. You stop trying to manage me. You start telling the truth consistently, even when it costs you. Her eyes widened. If I tell HR, I didn't say HR, I cut in. I said truth. Start with me. Then your attorney, because you're going to need one if your job turns. Brooke shook her head, panic rising. I can't lose my job. You already put it at risk, I said. Now you deal with the risk. Brooke looked at me like she wanted me to save her from consequences the way she'd expected Martin to. That look was the last thing that made sense of the whole arc. She hadn't just betrayed me, she'd outsourced her safety to other people and hoped I'd keep doing the same. I stood, slow, and slid my phone into my pocket. I'm going for a drive, I said. When I come back, we talk logistics. Not feelings. Brooke's voice went small. Are you ever going to forgive me? I paused at the hallway. I don't know, I said. But I'm not going to live inside this. I drove without a destination, letting the city thin out into darker roads. Not because I needed drama. Because I needed the private space to let grief exist without turning it into a conversation Brooke could steer. When I came back, Brooke was at the kitchen table with her hands wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking from. She looked like she'd been waiting to be sentenced. I didn't sit down immediately. I set my keys in the tray, hung my jacket, and washed my hands at the sink, small procedural motions that reminded my body it still knew how to be steady. Are you leaving? She asked. I'm separating, I said, taking the chair across from her. And I'm going to do it the clean way. Brooke blinked fast. The clean way. Agreement. Timelines. No chaos, I said. Her voice tightened. So you already decided. I decided the night you confirmed it, I said. Now I'm deciding how expensive it's going to be for both of us. Her eyes filled again. I don't want to lose everything. I nodded once. Then cooperate. She stared at me like she expected something softer. Like she expected a speech about love. That wasn't available anymore. What does cooperate mean? She asked. It means you don't play both sides, I said. You don't protect Martin by sacrificing me. You don't rewrite our finances. And you sign what the attorneys draft. Her jaw flexed. And if I do that, you won't, she didn't finish, but the sentence was already in the room, you won't tell. I didn't give her what she wanted. I will not threaten you, I said. And I will not promise you protection from consequences that aren't mine to control. Her eyes flashed. So you're still going to ruin my job? I'm going to protect my life, I replied evenly. Your job is your responsibility. Brooke's hands trembled around the mug. That's cold. It's accurate, I said. And accuracy is what matters right now. The next morning, I called Dana and told her I wanted a draft separation agreement. Plain, I said. Fast. And enforceable, she replied, like she'd been waiting for that sentence. By afternoon, she sent a draft that read like two people unbraiding a shared life into line items: separate and apart, house stays with me, Brooke vacates in 30 days, refinance within 6 months, equity split justified by down payment and her need for discretion, each keeps their own vehicle, each keeps their own retirement, mutual waiver of support. The document didn't say adultery. It didn't have to. Brooke understood the leverage without it being written in ink. We met at Dana's office on Friday at 9 a.m. Brooke arrived in a crisp blazer like she was going into a pitch meeting. Her face was puffy around the eyes, but she tried to cover it. Dana slid the agreement across the table. Read it, she said to Brooke. If you have questions, ask me. Not your spouse. Brooke's eyes flicked to me at the word spouse like it hurt physically. She read slowly, lips moving slightly. When she reached the support waiver, her fingers tightened on the page. So this is it, she said quietly. No, nothing. Dana's voice didn't change. It's a mutual waiver. You both walk away responsible for yourselves. Brooke looked at me again. You're really doing this? I'm finishing this, I corrected. Her mouth trembled. If I sign this, are you going to go after him? Dana's gaze snapped to Brooke. That's not a legal question for this agreement. Brooke swallowed. It's a practical one. I kept my voice calm. If you sign this, I will execute it. That means I won't contact your workplace before it's filed and finalized. That's the only timing commitment you're getting from me. Brooke stared. So you are going to do it? I'm going to make decisions based on facts, I said. Just like you did. Dana watched me for a long beat, then turned to Brooke, tone flat and experienced. If you don't sign, you can litigate. That will be expensive. It will be public. It will be slow. And it will not protect your job any better than a clean agreement will. Brooke's shoulders slumped like she finally understood the trap she'd built and fallen into. She signed. The pen scratched over paper in 3 places. Dana notarized. Copies were made. The agreement went into my folder like a sealed package. In the parking lot afterward, Brooke caught my arm lightly, just fingertips, like she was afraid I'd recoil. Please, she said. Just, please don't. I looked down at her hand until she let go. I'm not going to yell, I said. I'm not going to dramatize it. But I'm also not going to carry your secrets to protect the man who used you. Her eyes squeezed shut, and when she opened them they were wet and angry. You act like I'm a victim, she whispered. I made choices. Yes, I said. You did. Then I got in my car and drove home, and for the first time in weeks my hands didn't shake on the steering wheel, because the agreement meant the ground under me was finally real. I waited exactly 72 hours. Not because I wanted to savor anything. Because timing matters. On Monday at 8:15 a.m., I drafted an email to Brooke's HR department. I didn't write a novel. I wrote it the way I'd want a reporting employee to write it if I were on the receiving end inside a company: clear, factual, minimal adjectives. Subject: report of potential policy violation, supervisor/subordinate relationship body. I am the spouse of Brooke, last name, marketing team. I am reporting credible information of an ongoing sexual relationship between her direct supervisor, Martin Lasky, and Brooke, occurring during the period approximately September-January. Supporting documentation is attached. 1. Dry cleaning receipt listing men's blazer/shirt under Martin Lasky's name with Brooke listed for pickup. 2. Call log screenshot showing my verification call to the dry cleaner on, date, time. 3. Timeline summary of dates Brooke was away overnight in connection with work meetings, from shared household calendar. Closing: I am not requesting any specific outcome. I am providing information for HR review. Please confirm receipt. No threats. No emotion. No, he ruined my life. Just proof. At 9:02 a.m., HR replied, we acknowledge receipt. Please provide availability for a brief call. Dana advised me to keep it simple. You're not the employee, she said. You're not the investigator. You're a reporting source. At 11:30 a.m., I took the call. The HR manager's tone was careful and professional. Thank you for speaking with me, she said. We have policies regarding supervisor-subordinate relationships. I'm going to ask a few questions. If you don't know, you can say you don't know. I understand, I said. Did you personally witness contact between them? She asked. I have not, I replied. I have documentation indicating the relationship and the related pattern of overnight meetings. Do you have any written communication between them? She asked. No, I said. I did not access private devices or accounts. There was a slight pause, like she respected that. Do you believe company resources were used? She asked. I cannot confirm, I said. My report is about the relationship and the potential power imbalance. Understood, she said. We will handle this internally. Thank you, I replied, and ended the call. At 2:46 p.m. Brooke texted me, they pulled me into a room. What did you do? I stared at the message for a moment, then responded with one sentence, I submitted a factual report with documentation. She didn't reply. That evening, I mailed a separate packet to Martin's wife. No social media message. No dramatic confrontation at their house. Mail creates a record. Mail forces receipt. The cover letter was one page, I am contacting you because I believe you deserve to know. I am enclosing documentation that indicates your husband has been having an affair with his subordinate. Dates are summarized. Supporting items are included. I am not asking you to contact me, I am providing information. 2 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then a text came through, this is Lisa Lasky. Please answer. I picked up on the next call. Hello, I said. Her voice was tight, controlled in the way mine had been at the dry cleaner. I got your packet. Yes, I said. Is it real? She asked, and the question sounded like it cost her something to say. I can only tell you what I can prove, I replied. The receipt is real. The cleaner confirmed the name. The dates align with overnights presented as work meetings. Brooke admitted the affair to me. Lisa inhaled sharply. He told me you spoke to Brooke. I confronted my spouse, I said. Lisa's voice shook, then hardened. He told me you're unstable. He said you were trying to extort him. I stayed calm. I have not asked him for money. I have not contacted him other than telling him not to contact me. I did not send you opinions. I sent you documentation. Silence. Then, smaller, how long? Brooke stated it began in September, I said. I'm not guessing beyond that. Lisa exhaled. He swore on our kids. My chest tightened, not sympathy exactly, but recognition of what power does when it's cornered. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it in the only way I could, I'm sorry you're being lied to in real time. Lisa's voice turned flat. He's not coming home tonight. I understand, I said. Before she hung up, she said one last thing, quiet, raw. Thank you for not making this a spectacle. I didn't do it for spectacle, I replied. I did it for truth. The fallout hit in layers. On Thursday, Brooke showed up at the house early, eyes wild, breathing fast. They put him on leave, she said. I didn't move. Okay. They're acting like I'm the problem, she blurted. They're asking if I pursued him. They're asking if I'm unstable. I looked at her steadily. What did I tell you would happen? Brooke's face crumpled. He's saying I misunderstood everything. He's saying I was obsessed. I nodded once. Power protects itself. Brooke's voice broke into anger. So you're just going to sit there? You started this. I reported facts, I said. You started this when you agreed to be his secret. She flinched like I'd slapped her, then snapped back, he's losing everything, and so are you, I said, still calm. That's what happens when you tie your life to someone who can afford to sacrifice you. Brooke's eyes filled again. You wanted me punished. I wanted my life back, I said. Those aren't the same thing. She stood there, shaking, and for a moment I saw the exact shift that had probably happened in Martin's office, him stepping away from responsibility while she absorbed it. Brooke whispered, Lisa called me. I didn't react. And? She called me a homewrecker, Brooke said, voice thin. She said I seduced him. She said I'm trash. I held my gaze on her. Lisa is reacting to what she can survive believing. Brooke's shoulders sagged. He's telling her I came after him. I know, I said. Then Brooke said the sentence that ended the last thread of my attachment, I don't know how to fix this. I nodded. You don't. Not with me. 3 weeks later, Brooke moved out. She took her boxes quietly, like someone leaving a building after a fire drill. The house felt different immediately, lighter in some rooms, haunted in others. HR never told me the exact outcome, because they don't. But I heard enough through the predictable channels. Martin's reputation cracked. Administrative leave became resignation, became termination, depending on who told it. Lisa filed something, separation, maybe divorce. People like Martin don't collapse loudly. They collapse in controlled compartments. Brooke was the one people whispered about. Brooke was the one removed from projects. Brooke was the one described as a risk. It wasn't fair, but it was predictable. And I didn't rescue her from it, because rescuing her would have meant re-entering the dynamic where I absorb consequences so she doesn't have to feel them. Instead, I refinanced the house, updated beneficiaries, closed joint accounts, and built a life that didn't require me to monitor anyone's coat pockets. The peace wasn't cinematic. It was practical. It was waking up and not checking a shared calendar to see if I was about to be lied to. It was making peppermint tea at midnight and reading contracts without my stomach turning when a phone buzzed. It was knowing that if someone tried to rewrite my reality again, I'd have receipts, literal and otherwise. If there's advice in any of this, it's not, get revenge. Revenge is emotional. It burns hot and sloppy. The better move is leverage. Truth is leverage. Documentation is leverage. Timing is leverage. And when power corrupts, the only thing it consistently respects is a clean file and a calm person willing to use it.